One of the questions I get asked most often is, how do I overcome the fear of XYZ? But I tell people, listen, you guys are asking the wrong question, because the truth is, you're never going to overcome fear. I hate to break it to you. What you will learn to do is how to not fear fear itself. And you'll do this with something called courage. And so the question you should be asking if you want to produce results is, how can I become more courageous? It's the nature of the universe that everything within it is represented by its equal and opposite. So there is matter and there is antimatter. There are electrons and there are positrons. There is yin and there is yang. There is up because there is down. And there is fear, but there is also courage. So the solution is to focus less on the fear and more on the courage. And the clinical literature is very clear on this. When someone's afraid and is crippled by anxiety, what the clinicians do is they ask them to write out and detail their fears. Explain their fears, and then what they do is they break up these fears into manageable experiences and expose them to their fears. And what they found was that once exposed, they didn't become less afraid, but they did become braver. And there is a difference between the two, because to become less afraid would mean that what you were afraid of wasn't so scary after all. But the truth is that oftentimes it really is scary. And bravery means that you are making the decision to summon courage within you, to meet your fears head on, with the understanding that it's going to make you stronger. And it does, because if you don't face fear voluntarily, it will find you involuntarily. And it will cripple you and weaken you, and you will live life at the mercy of fear. But when you decide to step up in courage, then fear no longer has a grasp on you. And it's liberating. It's freeing. You see, the people in life who appear to be extremely successful, they're actually some of the most fearful people of all. But they understand something that the 99% of people don't. They understand how to use fear instead of letting fear use them. Maybe you're afraid to start a business. Let's use this as an example. You're afraid to start a business because you're afraid of failure. Maybe you're afraid of putting the time and energy and not seeing results. Or you're afraid of all of the what ifs and the things that could go wrong. Or you're afraid of the humiliation that could proceed from failure. But the 1% who are successful, they are more afraid than you, but they focus their fears on different things. So they're most afraid of never taking risks in life and living in their comfort zone for their whole lives. They're most afraid of continuing to live in their current life circumstances forever. They're most afraid of never being able to provide for their family at the level that they deserve. They're most afraid of all the time that will be lost with family and friends because they have to trade their time for money. They're most afraid of continuing to be crippled by debt, never getting ahead in life. They're most afraid of the day they retire and they have nothing to live off of. But maybe most of all, they're most afraid of never tapping into their fullest God-given human potential. So they've got plenty of fears, okay? But what they fear most is the cost of a life crippled by fear. This is what propels them to summon courage. It's the fear itself that makes them courageous. All right, so I've got a little exercise for you. Get out a piece of paper and a pen, and I want you to make the title the thing that you fear. okay? What's crippling you right now? So let's continue with the example of starting a business. This is what I want you to make it look like. So at the top, you write your fear. And then on the left-hand side, I want you to write the word fear. And then on the right of that, you put a big line down the middle of the paper. I want you to write possibilities. And so on the left side, I want you to, whatever comes to mind, what are you fearful of? What is it that is so scary about starting a business? And write all of it out, okay? Whatever comes to mind, everything. And on the right side, in the possibilities, this is where you have to come up with what could be. If I managed to overcome this fear, how would my life look? How would things be different in my life? And you have to write here all of the possibilities. So in this example, the possibility of earning financial freedom, never having to trade your time for money again, getting to be your own boss, getting to choose when and where you work, choosing what days you work, getting to work from home, vacations with your family, never being burdened by being on a tight budget again, the possibilities of being able to build something from scratch that you're actually proud of, and tapping into your human potential, and contributing and adding value to the marketplace. So all of those will go onto the side of the possibilities. And then this page should be really full, okay? And then I just want you to look at it, okay? And you see the fears laid out in front of you and the possibilities laid out in front of you. And that's really important, because what happens is sometimes fear, when we keep it in our mind, it seems a lot bigger than it is. But when we put it on paper, we actually create some distance between us and the fear. And you can see it from a new perspective. It doesn't consume you as much. It's there, it's laid out in front of you. And then from this point forward, you have a decision to make. Do the fears outweigh the possibilities? Is the risk too high? Or are you willing to take a bet on yourself? Are you willing to overcome these fears for the possibilities? Do the benefits outweigh the risks? And that's a decision you have to make. There's no right or wrong answer. It depends. It's your decision to make. But I think that this will help you to make that decision, lay it out in front of you. And I think more often than not, if there's something that's holding you back in life, and you've put it up here, it's because you know that your life would be better off if you were to move forward and move beyond this fear. I think that you know intrinsically that life could be improved for yourself and for others. So that's one exercise. One of the needs of our personality is the need for comfort. So we all have a desire for comfort, but the degree in which we value comfort varies from person to person. And so in the circle of comfort, you have a lot of certainty in your life. You know what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, where it's going to happen, how it's going to happen. And you can live a good life inside this circle. But you can also become very skeptical of anything that's foreign or new. Maybe you heard of some new business or something, and immediately you're very skeptical about that. And part of the reason why is because it threatens your comfort. It threatens that you might be pushed outside of that bubble of comfort. And so this is the circle of comfort over here. And on the outside of that circle is what we would call the other circle of uncertainty and risk. Uncertainty/risk. Now, we've all heard the expression high risk, high rewards. And that's because some of the greatest rewards in life only happen for those who are brave enough to wander outside of their bubble of certainty. And I would hallucinate that the majority of people that you admire in your life, they had to venture outside of that bubble and take risks in their lives in order to achieve the things that you perceive to be great. The reason why they are people that you admire is probably because they had to take certain risks in their lives. They overcame challenges. They had to bet on themselves, take some chances. If they were to just live in their comfort zone, you probably wouldn't know their name. So it's hard to step outside of the bubble, okay? It's hard when you've been living your whole life in comfort. And part of the reason is because we have these 2 million-year-old brains. They're by no means new technology. They're not designed to make us feel happy and fulfilled in life. Their primary function is survival. Simply put, they want to keep you alive. So because the brain is very concerned with your survival, it naturally fears the unknown. Because if you've never been down that path before in the forest, your senses are going to be very active and you're going to be very alert because you don't know what to expect. And it could be life-threatening because you've never walked that path before. And similarly, if you've never started a business before, it's also the unknown. And so naturally your brain starts to come up with fears. But we often misinterpret fear and we use it as a reason to never get started. Because the purpose of fear is to signal you. It's to prepare you for what's to come. And it's actually really important and useful. But we often misinterpret that and we use it as a reason to never get started. And so remember that while our brains are necessary and we love them, and they do a fantastic job at what they're meant to do, they're also very primitive. And so they're not going to propel us towards success and fulfillment and whatever it is that is your goal in life. Which is why self-development comes in extremely practical, because the essence of it at its core, it's really just reconditioning of the mind. And it's possible thanks to neuroplasticity. So to conclude, forget about trying to become less fearful and instead focus on how you can encourage courage. Your fears are not unique. And I say this because it should bring you a great sense of comfort, knowing that other people share the same fears as you and they've managed to move fear from the driver's seat to the back seat. And now they're in the driver's seat and they're in charge of the direction they go in life. Fear is no longer in control, and that's a possibility for you. So while you can live a good life inside your comfort zone, you can really live a great life when you're willing to build a bridge from the comfort zone and to the zone of uncertainty and risks. And when you can summon the courage to traverse it. And then you can go back and forth between the two, right? It's not just about living here. You can go back to comfort, and that's nice too, but it means that you're free. You're free, you're not trapped in this one world. You can now experience another world because there's so much to explore. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. If it did help you in any way, please share it with someone else that you think could benefit from hearing this message. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comment box down below. If you enjoy this comment, definitely subscribe to the channel for more content on self-development and motivation and e-commerce and business and all that stuff. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.